from injury as far as like his performance out on the edge? Maybe some tentativeness?
No, not necessarily that. Like we have full confidence in Rhino, and I think if there's a question of whether or not he can do it, I think you go back to our first season and just watch him against Utah, and the competition that he was playing against there, and his ability to perform in those settings, and even in the SMU game, where he spent most of the game at left tackle. um, you know, we were able to, be competitive with him there. So there's no fear of him on the edge, if that makes sense.
But why does he work better inside?
Because I think the rest of the room, with the emergence of Matthew Lotto, right, the emergence of Tristan Bounds, the opportunity to get the best five on the field, him moving inside is beneficial not only for him but for us as a unit and as a team. I think the opportunity to be in a little bit more enclosed space, kind of let him use his violence and physicality a little bit more on the inside. With the amount of counter that we run and things like that, getting him on those pulls and different things like that. I think that the inside suits him a little bit better, especially with the kind of development that we've had at the tackle position. Because if you remember when he was out there our first season, it was pretty much out of necessity for, not really having those pieces to be on the edge outside of Jonah, really. So, I do think prototypical guard is kind of awesome for him because of the way he plays, kind of the Mauler mentality, all that type of stuff. I just think it's a little bit better fit for him there, as well as the emergence of kind of really Matthew Lotto and Tristan Bounds.
Justin and then Michael. Getting Bounds back, when did it become reality that you guys could actually get him for another season, and how important is it to have a guy like Tristan Bounds being able to come back?
Yeah, it was touch and go there for a minute, and it kind of put a lot of stress on us. Portal-wise to, once again, like we knew what we had with Lotto, but just kind of finding another piece, right? And it put a lot of stress on us early in the portal process of trying to hunt down a replacement for him and Ty and all that. And then, we get the notification, I guess, that he's good, and it was like the biggest sigh of relief through the office. But and for all the things that Tristan is, the biggest part is the experience that he brings back, with not having to break someone in completely new at that position. And the experiences that he brought with him from his previous school, as well as the things that he learned and took from this past season, has been invaluable for the room and for him. So, once we got word that we were good there, it was a giant sigh of relief and a big all right, let's go push forward. And it's also great because now it gives us time to really grow the young tackles in the program, being Jackson and Louie. Again, just remembering that they haven't even been here a calendar year, and they get to learn from a guy like that.
One of Coach Brendan's big important themes, of course, is culture, but he's also a big advocate of continuity. Very pleased to bring back most of the coaching staff, including the offensive coordinator, so you have the same system 2 years in a row. How big of a deal is that for the offensive line that you are now in year 2 of this, as opposed to having to learn something new?
It's invaluable because it's all accrued reps, right? Everything stacks. So, the more times you can hear the same terminology, the same standard, the same set of rules, the same combination of plays, it all stacks. So now this spring, instead of learning something new, we're building on what we already know. And it gives us a chance to further understand what it is we're doing offensively, schematically, as well as positionally. You have a guy like Alexander Deuced, who this is going to be his third season, hearing the same coaching points, understanding the same footwork, the same eye progression, all of that. So everything just starts to stack, so the game slows down, so to speak. There's less learning and more recall, which allows us to play faster, which allows us to essentially move to the second step for a lot of these guys. It's like the difference from going from algebra to algebra 2 to then pre-calc and calculus and so on, right? Like everything just stacks and grows and continues to build. So the longer that you can have that continuity that you speak of, the better off you are, because it's less teaching and more building on what they already know.
So putting yourself, when you were a player at Wisconsin, putting yourself in Lotto's shoes about playing early and going through those growing pains, what advice do you give Lotto during this stage as he goes from an underclassman to an upperclassman, a guy that could probably start?
Yeah, it's one of the coolest transitions because our stories are pretty similar in the sense of how we got onto the field. So, my first true playing opportunity was to replace the Outland Trophy winner. He got hurt against Ohio State, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, well, here you go. Here's your first game action against the number one team in the country at night. Lotto gets thrust into a situation where he has to replace, I believe it was Ty, right, in a game that's a battle. That is a battle. And, we end up winning it. I believe it was Kansas, right? We ended up winning it on a 2-minute drive. And it's one of those deals where in that first opportunity, you really don't have time to be nervous because your number's called and you got to go. And I think that speaks to him just in general about how he prepares, and knowing that he had to prepare as if he was a starter. And one of the things that I've told him is that you have to take advantage of this opportunity, because the opportunity of a lifetime only lasts a lifetime of that opportunity. And he did that in spades with the games that he played and the games that he started. And like I said, it's propelled him to have a really great spring. And we're looking for him to continue that growth, to really kind of solidify his spot on this unit this year. And the big thing that I continue to talk to him about is just enjoy the grind, because this position is a marathon, not a sprint. And goes back to those accrued reps, right? How many times can we work the non-negotiable fundamentals of the position? And I think you're starting to see that kind of blossom for him, where things are starting to become more understood and less thinking going on for him, and more of just, I know what I have to do and I know that I have to do it.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Group 4-4, thanks for being here. For the marathon guys, we'll start with Justin and go to Michael.
Deuced, how nice is it to not have to relearn a whole new offense and be more settled into what you guys have right now?
It's awesome, because it definitely took me a while to learn it at the beginning, but now that I know it, I feel like I'm going out there just having the knowledge of what to do and being able to help the guys next to me.
And then how has it been playing alongside Zach Henning? In your opinion, what makes him such a good center?
It's awesome because Zach really cares about his job, so that means he learned the playbook immediately, just like Grayson did. And when we get out there, it's never a problem with having to ask him for the calls or anybody else having to ask him, like the QB or the running back. Like he's always on top of everything.
For Matthew, Coach Oglesby was just talking about the progress that you've made, going from someone who wasn't playing to kind of thrust into having to go on the field, and now you're maybe more settled and more comfortable. Where do you think you've made the most growth as a player?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot stronger. The strength and conditioning staff, as well as the nutrition, has definitely helped a lot with that. I've gotten faster as well, and also the development with Coach O. Yeah, I think he's the greatest. I think he's the best O-line coach in the Big 12. I think that's helped me a lot.
What about him do you like? Why do you think you have a good connection with him?
I think it's a family vibe with Coach O and him coaching us and being able to take the coaching from him as well, and through the development process with him.
Question for both of you guys. You guys spend a lot of time hanging out with Coach Oglesby and watching UFC fights and cooking food. What are those events like for you guys?
Well, I mean, we're always at his house. I mean, this last Saturday, me, Zach, Isaac, and Rhino spent 3 hours playing darts while the rest of the guys had a college football 26 tournament, which probably took about until 11 p.m. So, I mean, we're probably going to do something similar this weekend. We went to the movies as an O-line last week, so we're always hanging out.
And how is that continuity for you guys?
I mean, especially with the older guys, I've been around Lotto forever, it seems like now. I mean, we room together in the hotel room, so it's all the guys that have been here. It started with us, and then including the newer guys who at the beginning Zach was very quiet when he first got here, and now we've been included him a lot more. Khalil, who we're still trying to get out of his shell a little bit, but I mean, it just all starts with who's been here, initiating all of this.
Brian? Matthew, it was, I believe it was the Kansas game when Ty went down and you had to kind of jump in there, right? And then wasn't it the following game against Cincinnati that you had to do the same thing for Tristan?
Yeah.
Yeah, just what was just kind of getting thrown in there when you were not expecting to be playing that much or at all really in those games and kind of falling back on your coaching?
Well, when you're a 2, you always have to be ready to play, and that's the expectation in the O-line room, to always be ready to perform. If someone goes down, next man up, be able to play.
And what was it like the last couple of years learning from Tristan Bounds and Ty Buchanan, and how big was it to get Tristan to come back for another season?
It's been big to have Tristan back for another season. He's played a lot of games. He's a big guy in the room for leadership, and he knows what he's talking about because of his experience. And Ty as well. He's been he's had a big role in my career so far in teaching me the game as well.
This one's for both of you guys. Louis Akpa is a guy that's been getting a lot of pub recently. What do you like about his skill set and how he's fitting into your unit?
I've been playing next to Louis for pretty much the whole spring ball. I love his relentlessness. Louis takes a bull rush right to the face, doesn't complain about it, just runs to the ball, gets set. I mean, that kid's just got a good attitude on him. I love playing next to Louis.
Yeah. Louis a guy who's just never gonna give up. He's relentless with his effort, his energy, and he'll always just get back and keep going.
Brian and Michael?
Alexander, when you first got here, were you starting out as a tackle before they moved you inside?
I was.
Okay. So with someone like Rhino, who has been a tackle his whole career and now he's getting moved in there, is that something that you've been able to talk with him about, just the differences of maybe knowing, you've got people on both sides now? Or?
I've definitely talked to Rhino a little bit when he's asked me, but Rhino's always been the guy that he the Swiss Army man, just moving out, playing guard, playing right, playing left, and he always has that attitude of just knowing what to do. Rhino's another guy who just checks the playbook, goes to O's office, knows what to do. He never comes out there and just wings it. I mean, you shouldn't,
Who won the college football 26 tournament?
Issei did.
Issei.
Like it was gonna be like a players thing only, but
Some coaches.
Coach Issei came in and stole the show, beat everybody out.
Did you guys? What teams were you using for that? Could you just take anybody?
I mean, I'm horrible at the game. That's why I stuck to darts. But Lotto and them were playing. so
I had Arizona, but I lost to Ron. He had Texas Tech.
I'm pretty sure Issei was playing the team up north. So
Yeah,
you
he's
can
the
talk to
team up
him
north.
about that.
He got them 3 times in a row.
What movie did you guys see?
Project Hail Mary, that new space movie that just came out.
That was a good movie.
Yeah.
What do you think those outings, the get-togethers at Coach Oglesby, like, why does that matter, do you think, especially for the offensive line?
It's very important. I mean, like you have a group, let's say, that has never hung out outside of the facility. They just go work out and that's it. Like they're going to come onto the field. They're not like going to know if they really trust the guy next to them. If they like playing next to him. But I mean, like me and Tristan hang out all the time. Like we usually watch like movies or shows at my place. Like, and I've like played next to Tristan. So we have that trust and that compatibility. Same thing with Lotto. Same thing with Louis. Like you could put like Zach Henning out a tackle next to me. I'm sure I'd be fine. I'm sure we'd both be fine.
I think it's like the thing with like building brotherhood within the O-line and just getting to know your brother, stuff like that.
We'll finish up with Justin.
Lotto, what was your welcome to college football moment?
I think my welcome to college football moment was against Jacob Manu when I had to block it on the zone play. I think that was my welcome.
So it was as soon as you got here?
Yeah.
Practice?
Yeah, that's what I was using.
What about in games, whether it was last year or the 24 season?
I think I really got one. I was prepared, float through all the practices that we went through. They're all pretty hard, so I was acclimated to college football before I even got in the game.
And then Deuce, when Lotto got in, how do you think he did the last few games of the season?
I mean, great. Like, well, Lotto knows what to do. Lotto's a strong dude. So, like, when he got out there with me, there wasn't any drop off. Like, I mean, it was just business as usual.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.